about cross stitch. Today we're doing a Flosstube extra because we don't want our main Flosstube videos to be 2 hours long. So we're any topic we have that we think is like a 20 or 30-minute topic, we're just gonna pop out
extra special
and put it out on during different weeks. So this is our second Flosstube extra. And don't worry if you just like regular Flosstubes. One was released last week and one will be released next week. So we got you covered. Today we're going to talk about the state fair. It was our first year entering our local state fair.
Oklahoma State Fair.
The Oklahoma State Fair specifically, but I think some of what we're going to talk about would apply to anybody who wants to enter a state fair, their first one, and is like worried or nervous, doesn't know what to think. So let me get on my table of contents. We're going to talk about inspirational videos that I watched that inspired me, or that I want to enter the fair, or that I found out about after I entered the fair that were fun to watch, to think about like next year. And then we'll talk about like how we actually entered, the pieces we entered, how we did, and what it was like, and any other tips that we have if you're thinking about entering one for yourself. So the first topic for inspiration, I don't think you've watched her channel because she doesn't. Do you know Yellow House Needleworks? So I think it's Yellow House. It might be Little Yellow House Needleworks. I'll link it below. Anytime we mention anything like a Flosstube or anybody or patterns or Etsy stores, we'll always link it in the description. But Nell, her name's Nell, she had a video a couple years ago on all the things she was getting ready to enter or had entered for the Missouri State Fair. And that was when I was like, wait, what a minute, there are cross-stitch competitions? You can enter state fairs. And what's funny is I mentioned this in a Flosstube, but in 2021, I covered as a content creator for my travel, I have an Oklahoma specific travel website. I have a couple other ones, but for the Oklahoma one, I covered the Oklahoma State Fair. And did not go into the creative arts tent because I was not a cross stitch person yet.
Well, and you wouldn't think
I didn't know.
I would think it would be like high school level stuff, like not like adults entering.
And there were high school level.
There were a lot, and that's what I had expected it to only be.
And I knew you could win best pie at the state fair.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you could win best cross stitch.
No. I would have assumed quilts.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of quilts there, and they were beautiful.
It was
beautiful
really cool.
quilts. Yeah, right. I didn't know cross stitch.
So when she said that, so when I was watching the video, I was like, oh, well, I'll just look it up. And then it was like, oh, yeah, you can. And, but you have to get them in right away because it was I think it was 2 or 3 weeks away from the deadline to enter for our state fair. Now, everybody's state fair has different timelines, and then there's also a lot of people that do fairs that are not the state fair. Like there are some counties and cities. I know there's a fair that's an Arkansas, Oklahoma partnership in Northwest Arkansas and Northeast Oklahoma. So for us, we entered the Oklahoma State Fair, which is held in September, but our entries had to be in August. So for us, okay, so I watched Nell's videos, and then after I had already entered us, I watched Mrs. Jones Stitches, Holly Jones, who's another Oklahoma City Metro cross-stitcher who has a very established Flosstube channel, and she was going through the pieces that she had picked out and why and how she finished them, and that was a really cool video to watch because it was it was very inspirational to watch that video because one, it was cool to see somebody else so excited about it. And she'd been doing it for years. So it was it was in that way, it was really cool. But then also, she does a lot of interesting and creative finishes. And I haven't done anything but a finished frame because I've only done one fully finished piece. And you finished all your stuff in frames.
Except for that one I just finished last week.
So at the time we watched the video, we hadn't finished anything on I'd seen other people finish stuff on flatboards and stuff, but
I'd never done it.
I'd never done it. So it was, and I didn't really and Nell talked about this too, it seems like the state fair has in creative finishes, sorry, I didn't mean to shake the camera. Creative finishes it seems like creative finishes are rewarded at the state fair and are looked forward to based on those videos. But then when we were at the fair, a lot of them were just in frames.
A lot of frames.
That was less intimidating for me because I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to be somebody who wants to like creatively finish a lot of pieces because it's just like.
I do. I want to make a big Oklahoma pillow. Like,
really?
Like a really big Oklahoma motif pillow. Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's on the list.
I think you need to enter that in the
state fair. It depends on how quickly I can start.
I mean, at any point, it's like, because, so for our state fair, you have to have finished the piece since the previous state fair. So if you are cross-stitching all the time and you miss this next one, then you can just enter the next one. Yeah. And people you need to enter because they're going to stop having the competitions and people don't enter. And some categories had 1 or 2 entries. So, all right. So Nell's video and Mrs. Jones Stitches, I'll link both of their Flosstubes below. Very inspirational. And then I just watched a artist. I mentioned this on our last Flosstube, but Artist Designs had a great overview and walkthrough of the Maryland State Fair this year, which just came out. So I hadn't seen it when we entered, but all 3 are great for if you're looking for your own, like if you're trying to research what you should do for the state fair, all 3 of these were great videos. So the process for entering our fair was really simple. One, I just told you, hey, I'm going to enter.
I know. She didn't even say, what do you want to enter? She said, I'm entering that picture. You gave Mom and Dad.
The picture of Mom and Dad's house because you have no control of it. I don't have to break into your house to get it. I just took it from Mom and Dad's house. I will be entering it. Then I had to like hurry up and finish the piece that I was working on because I hadn't finished a cross stitch piece yet. I was just like, I will be entering.
She entered the contest for her first ever cross stitch finish.
Yeah, and it was. I'm glad I did because
ballsy and I love it.
I'm really glad that I didn't wait. Because if I'd waited, I wouldn't have gotten the experience this year that I need to know for next year.
For sure.
And the Oklahoma State Fair is free to enter. I mean, if it had been like $50 to enter, I wouldn't have entered. But the Oklahoma State Fair is free to enter. So there's no penalty or reason you shouldn't enter. And there are so many cross-stitch categories that you can pretty much, if you have at least one completed piece in the last year, you'll probably find a category that makes sense in. All right, so let's talk about the pieces that we actually entered. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So I entered, this is Stephanie's photograph, one of her photographs of her son. And he's standing on a beach in Carolina.
Amelia Island, Florida.
There you go. The pretty picture of the pretty beach somewhere.
I mean, we did a couple. We did Carolina and Florida in the same trip, but that is definitely Amelia Island, Florida.
Okay, so this is one of her photographs, and I just thought
you charted it though.
I did chart. I charted it. I used Pick-to-Pat, which if you want to do your own, I recommend because it was really easy to use and it's totally free.
So she charts on Pick-to-Pat because she is creating patterns just for herself. I started charting on Pick-to-Pat and then switched to MacStitch because I want to eventually sell some of my patterns and it's easier to control the output on MacStitch. Yeah. But if you're only doing it for yourself, Pick-to-Pat's great because you can also change decisions on the fly.
Yeah.
Whereas like I needed to be able to change individual pixels to send information. I'm not going to send someone else something and be like, but these 150 stitches, do it this way.
Well, yeah, because so I bet Stephanie could get this picture down. And I don't know how many like floss colors I used, but I want to say it was 30.
But like,
and it look like it has 30 in it?
Yeah, because of how much shading it's like. I mean, I think it's stunning. There's so much detail in it. Like the more color shades you have.
This is the only one I framed with a frame or with glass on it. I never put my cross stitch behind glass.
When I start getting my original designs framed, I'm gonna get them framed with museum glass so there's no glare because those are like my art.
Yeah.
But when I get somebody else's design framed, like I'm just gonna do regular glass. So
I'm not gonna do any.
I'm gonna do glass because I live with chaos monsters.
Little hands.
Today I was so thankful that I keep my thread for the most part on bobbins in floss bags on a ring, and Molly grabbed the whole thing. And if the bobbins had been out the way you just put them on the ring, they wouldn't have made it. No, I would be buying a whole new set of. She was like half covered in yogurt. So this picture was taken a few years ago, and then you finished the piece in the last year, and it's so pretty.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah, and it was a present for our parents, which is how I was able to steal it and enter it in the fair without asking you. I did tell you that.
But you did tell me, and I think you might have told me like on the way to drop it off. So.
No. My original plan was to do it without telling you, and then only tell you if you got a ribbon. and just never mention it because Allison does not put herself, I put myself forward and things. Allison does not like to brag about herself. So.
Oh yeah? What's this? 6th place, guys. Number 6.
So each category, it was cool. They give ribbons in Oklahoma up to 10 places, and not all, I would say most categories don't have over 10 people entering.
I don't know.
So you can have a really good chance if you're in Oklahoma and you enter multiple pieces of coming away with at least one ribbon. But I just think this piece is so pretty.
Thank you. I like it. This is when I was only doing full coverage.
Yeah.
So he's not very big.
It's what, like 8 by 8 though? It's
big. I cut out a lot of the beach because I was done with him, and it was like we only want to look at him anyway. So
yeah.
like,
no, I think I think it's perfect.
Beach,
I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I think you could even, not you, like, but I think if I wanted to rechart this picture and sell it as like a beach scene, I could even do it as like a 4 by 5. Maybe that's what I should give Mac.
Oh,
Our brother wants to cross stitch.
I taught him how.
So, I don't know if he'll ever.
We'll probably need more sessions, but he did pick it up very well. I just don't know if it'll stick.
So he asked me for a pattern. So maybe I'll go find one of these pictures and rechart it. So for mine, mine is also based on an original photograph, but it's called, I'm trying to see, oh, can I get it without any glare? No. No, I'm just trying to get it without glare, and I don't think I can because of the windows. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. So this picture is charting from, so something we kind of talked around is that one of the things, the reason I got into cross stitch is to create patterns from my professional travel photography and then stitch those and then eventually sell some of those patterns, but not all of them. So this is the first piece I did, but it's a street scene in Eastern Europe, but I wanted to get it down to like 7 or 8 colors because it was the very first thing I ever cross-stitched. So it has a lot fewer shades than you would normally do. And the reason I picked this particular one is because it was one of the only travel pictures I could get down to just 8 shades.
So look how amazing that looks, and that's only 8 shades.
But it's because it's not a monochromatic picture, but it's such a, I don't know what the word is, but
it's a neutral tones.
Yeah, there's
picture.
no like sky. There's nothing. There's no. It's a dead. I mean, it's like the plants in it are like winter plants. So there's no like other colors that need a lot of shades to pull. So you can just focus on the shadows and the tunnel and the lamps. But I call it lamps and arches, and I really love it. But it was the very first thing I stitched. So, because of that, it was the only thing I was going to have ready. There was a chance I could have gotten that Arches National Park piece that I showed in our first one done in time, but I didn't want to stress myself out because I didn't want to have to figure out how to finish it. And then the finishing for this was terrible because I didn't have time to get it professionally finished if I wanted to turn it into the fair on time. And this frame is not very thick. So I thought I was going to lace it, but I couldn't actually lace it. So I had to cut it like super close to the edge. So I think this is like,
it's never coming out.
It's never coming out because it won't. If I wanted to reframe it, I would have to sew fabric around the edges so that you'd have something to lace it with. So unless something happens to this frame, I'll just keep it in this frame. But I did not realize that 4 by 5 wasn't a typical frame size, because 8 by 10 is a typical frame size and 4 by 5 is the ratio of Instagram. So I assumed that people were printing their Instagram photos all the time, but I had to go to Amazon to get a frame this size, and that took up the extra days I had to get it professionally framed. So because I went to Hobby Lobby and I was going to buy a frame. I had like just enough time where if I bought something at Hobby Lobby that was already made, it was going to be, but I couldn't do something custom. But then they didn't, so I had to order this frame off Amazon. And so I'd love to get it reframed with like a bigger frame, but I can't. I mean, I could, but I also can't.
It would be a good experiment, but you'd have to be willing to sacrifice it.
And because it's the very first one I ever did.
And it's an award winner.
I don't want to do anything with it because it's the very first one I ever did. So I came in 3rd place. Now, Allison didn't want me to mention this, but I will just say there were not a lot of entrants in my category this year or last year, because your category was outdoor scene under
Counted cross stitch from a graph outdoor scene.
Yeah, and mine was counted cross stitch original design. And yours could have been entered in this category too, but each piece could only go into one category, and you can only have one category. You can only enter, like, so
one piece, one category.
One piece, one category, and you couldn't enter like multiple pieces in one category. If you had like 10 samplers, you couldn't enter 10 samplers in the sampler category. So I just picked different categories for us to enter. I thought yours was so obviously outdoors, whereas this one is like, it is outdoors, but I don't know if they would know it. Now, not a lot of people are designing their own patterns in the first place and then stitching them and submitting them. So there just aren't a lot of entrants in this category.
Yeah.
So I got third place, but I will say I think your sixth place is more impressive because that category is a much more competitive category. But I'm still excited to have the ribbon, and I definitely am inspired next year to enter. Like at first we were like, well, let's just enter something in every category next year, and it's like, there's like a million categories, and a lot of them are like outdoor scene under 11 by 14, outdoor scene over 11 by 14, and I don't know if I'll finish one piece bigger than 11 by 14 next year, maybe. Then there's ones with like words and Christmas and other seasons and samplers, and I don't think there's a single year I'll produce enough that I could submit something in every category, but I will do more than one category.
I might only do one if it's like a grand piece that I work on, which kind of is
then that would be the only thing you did this year, and I don't think you would work on, now that she used to be a monogamous stitcher, she is no longer, which you guys will probably saw in our last Flosstube.
Yeah.
If you have watched our Flosstubes. And if you haven't watched our Flosstubes and you would like to, subscribe to our channel so that our Flosstube shows up in your feed, and then like this video so this video gets recommended to other people. But okay, so those are the pieces we entered and the places we got. Now we're going to talk, and for us, we could find out the places before we went to the fair itself. But
like a website.
Yeah, it was did I just tell you, or did I send you the results?
You just told me.
I didn't send you the results.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like a big paper with like all the quilting and all the categories come out, and then like you go see your place.
Cool.
And it came out online like a couple days, like maybe like the day the fair opened or something. But then we couldn't go. This video is coming out a little late because we couldn't go to the fair until the very last day of the fair. Because we had other things that we had to deal with on those weekend days. We don't have like a ton of overlapping time when the fair was also open.
But the day we did go was nice and cool.
And it was the last day. And we went early in the morning. Fair. So it was probably the best experience.
It was the best time that I could have picked. Yeah. Like, it was wonderful.
So, going to the fair was interesting. I've been to the fair recently, but it's like the entry's free, but then you have to pay $15 to go see your piece, which is kind of funny. Like our fair tickets were $15 each.
$15 to get into the
And since we weren't planning on doing anything else, like if you were going to go to the fair anyway, that's like so I just kind of viewed it as like, instead of that's just the price to go see, like that, I didn't pay an entry fee. So this is like kind of like paying an entry fee.
I guess so.
For the competition. But if you entered like 10 pieces, it would still only be $15 to go see all your pieces. So
I think if you place, they should go ahead and waive that fee and let you come see it. Because you still have to pay to get on the rides.
I think even if you
enter activities.
If you enter, they should, because they need people to enter to keep these competitions going. Because like,
totally agree.
Like we said, like they give out 10 places. There's a million categories, and not every ribbon is by a lot was given out.
Yeah.
So I think they should just be grateful. Just kidding. But what did you feel like going and seeing your piece at the fair?
It was interesting. Not going to see the fiber crafts was more interesting than seeing my piece because I knew what my piece looked like. But walking past the ones that were like the table decorations,
there are a lot of categories,
or the 1,000,005 quilts that were out there, it was really cool. So I did enjoy going to the fair. Some people's fair, like some fair footage that I've seen of other people's fairs, like all the cross-stitch stuff is together, all the quilts are together. But the way that ours was, it was like big display cases. And at the end of this video, I'll put up some of our walkthrough footage. But it was like
long display cases, and every kind of fiber art was all mixed together. So you'd have like tons of quilts, and then you'd have cross stitch pieces on the wall, and you know, cross stitch pieces on shelves, and sewing projects and crochet projects, and like just all mixed together, which meant you never, like, you were just kind of always looking for yours. But also, like, you'd see a cross stitch piece and you would be able to see like what that one was, but I couldn't tell. I never saw the two people who placed above me in my category.
I didn't see who placed above.
I didn't know. It's like,
it was all the ribbons are the same color,
Yeah,
and you have to squint to read the
they say the
categories.
category, but you didn't stop at every cross stitch piece to see the category.
And some of them weren't visible because it's tiny letters.
And some of the, like, yeah, some of them were like flipped around or like under stuff.
So it was hard to tell.
I know at least one of the people that beat me, because Mrs. Jones Stitches is the one that won the category. But I don't know, and I saw her pieces on Instagram, but I don't know which piece she entered is the original design that she did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the one I thought it was, I just saw on another Flosstube, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't her original design, unless she also sells designs, which she may be.
She might.
All right, so a couple highlights for me. It was really inspiring seeing all of the giant. There were some really big wall hanging ones.
Yeah.
I loved all the seasonal ones. There were so many like St. Nick's and stuff, and then you got to see a lot of patterns by pattern makers where I've never because we saw a bunch of models at the Silver Needle, which we shared on a Flosstube, but we don't always, so you see the pattern on the internet or on TV, and you don't necessarily know what it really looks like in person. So it was fun seeing.
Yeah, it was really.
Did somebody have a tiny town?
There was the Valentine's tiny town. Someone did that, and it was really cool to see up close. So.
Obviously, the one that like took our breath away was Brianna, who I think that's how you pronounce her name, because we've only interacted on Instagram, and I saw you posted it in the Okie Stitchers Facebook group too. But she did a long dog sampler in 2 tones, and I'll show it. I'll insert a picture of it. But it was amazing to see in person, and also it got best of show. The cool thing for me that was really inspirational, besides just that it was gorgeous and huge, was that it was on 16 count Aida, because I bought linen to do my long dog sampler, but it's like, if it looks that pretty on 16 count Aida and I don't like stitching it on linen, maybe, in the future putting a big, you do.
I prefer it.
Because you have a hard time seeing the linen.
Yeah, the linen is, because they're all different sizes. I don't like the linen as much.
So that was really beautiful, and congratulations. She's
well deserved.
I don't think she has a Flosstube, but she does have an Instagram account, and we'll link it in the description. Definitely follow her if you're looking for inspirational stitchers, because it was gorgeous.
It was really amazing.
It was gorgeous, but
we both kind of just stopped when we saw it. And we're like, who did a long dog?
And I thought it was pandemic, but it wasn't. I think it was the Pointed Fifth.
Is that it?
We'll put the name of it in the description, but I think it was the Pointed Fifth. It was gorgeous, and the color scheme was gorgeous, and everything about it was just like so inspirational. And
Very
even
well done,
in a wall of quilts where the cross stitch didn't always stand out as like we knew when we were looking for it and looking at the difficulty of the cross stitch, but because of the size of the quilts and the sewing projects and everything, sometimes the intricacy of each cross stitch didn't stand out as well. But this one, I was like,
it just jumped out at you. Yeah, for real.
It made me really excited to start my long dog sampler, which I finally picked out the thread for.
What are you gonna use?
I'm gonna use Mo's silk, and I got 3 120 yard, because you need 300 something. So I'm gonna use Mo's silk. I got 3 blues and a yellow, because I'm gonna do it in the colors of the Camino de Santiago, because I'm doing the Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And those are the colors of the Camino pilgrimage that I did. So I think it'll be cool.
Yeah.
But when it gets here, I'll show you guys on a Flosstube when that silk gets here. I'm excited about it. But Mo's Silks on Facebook group is a group where she does 8 colors every week, and you can buy it or not buy it, but she doesn't you can't just order it. So you have to wait till you see a color you like to get it. All right. So that was what it was like going to the fair. Is there any advice you would give someone thinking about entering their first state fair or county fair?
I think it helped. I wasn't nervous because I didn't have a choice very much. So I think maybe the best approach is to not think about it and just do it. Like you made it. Are you proud of it? Okay, do it. Then just enter.
As a way to like show other people, even if you don't.
We other cross stitchers will know what that means. Like,
yeah.
So it's really cool to see everybody.
It was really
just
fun.
do it.
Look up the rules because there's a million categories, and I know some states have like every category for every state is very specific and different, and some places are really picky about what goes in what category and some aren't. So look up your specific rules and deadlines. Ours, you have to be an amateur, which for them means you have to make less than 10% of your income from cross stitch.
It's pretty easy to do.
Which we don't make any of our income from cross stitch.
None of it comes. All of our income goes to cross stitch.
In the future, when I'm selling patterns, I still can't imagine they would ever be 10% of my income.
Of your income, yeah. That'd be pretty.
It's mostly just a way to use my travel photography in a new way. Yeah, just enter, look up the rules and just enter. Like, just do it. It was really fun. And then even if you don't want to enter, whether you enter or don't enter, if you love cross stitch, go. Because we don't have like cross stitch museums or displays, or if there is a local textile exhibition, it will be like textiles from the 1840s or something. Like, there's no place to go to see where you get to see your peers and their finished pieces. They're not sitting there stitching them. They're finished, except like the brag table at a retreat, which it's not like we are going to like big retreats that have brag tables. I've never been to a retreat. We're hopefully going to one class next summer, but it's not really even a retreat. So yeah, just do it. Go, enjoy it, view it as something that like we're so lucky we get to have, because there's just not.
And hopefully they're free entries everywhere. But I
have no idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea. And we could have gotten more discounted tickets if we'd like.
But I definitely was okay with it being free entry.
Yeah,
I might have waffled a little bit.
It was like $20.
If it was like $20 there, yeah.
But. If you could enter late for $12, but if you entered online by the 16th of August, it was free. So, all right, well, I'm going to put in the walkthrough footage that we took at the state fair so you can see some of the other amazing entries that we saw. And do you have anything else you want to say?
No, just go check it out, because like Stephanie says, if people stop entering and stop going to look at it, they're going to stop doing it. And that's a shame, because it really was cool. It was a unique thing that I hadn't done before, and I'll probably do many more times now. So.
Until you have a needle minder empire. Somebody said that she should sell her needle minders that she makes on Etsy, and I agree. I think she should at some point sell them on Etsy, but I don't know how many needle minders you have to make 10% of your
right. That sounds like a lot of needle minders, but and you know my theory. I don't like working more than 40 hours a week. Yeah, it's excessive, guys. 40 is my limit.
Okay. Well, like and subscribe so that you see our next Flosstube, and say hi in the comments. Let us know if you've entered your state fair, any tips that you have for anyone else planning on entering their state fair, and anything else you want to tell us about cross-stitch competitions. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.